It's already active!
What's your favorite Metal Gear? The machine, not the game. What about your most hated Metal Gear? Today, we're going through a list of my most hated to my most favorite Metal Gear. Welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Luffy and welcome to my channel. I talk video games and character analysis, so if that's your thing, subscribe and stick around. If you like what I do here, consider supporting me on Patreon or becoming a channel member so that I can continue to bring these videos to you weekly. Heads up, this video will have spoilers across the whole Metal Gear Solid series since we're talking about boss fights from almost every Metal Gear Solid. Special thanks to the Mad Cow on Twitter for suggesting this topic. If you'd like to see something covered in a video, let me know in the comments. Let's dive right into my list of my most hated to my favorite Metal Gears. Number 12, Sahelanthropus. Sahelanthropus was a paper tiger, a Metal Gear that looks scary and intimidating, but is also the weakest Metal Gear in the entire series. Not only that, but by design, Sahelanthropus can't be piloted by an adult. The head isn't big enough to accommodate an adult pilot, and the cockpit can't be expanded to fit an adult because it'd make Sally's head too big and it'd topple over. So, Sally either needs to be controlled by an AI, or it needs to be piloted by a child. So Sally is a tool that keeps child soldiers in demand. One of Sally's designers, Huey, forces his son, Hal, to pilot Sally when he's running tests on the Metal Gear. Sahelanthropus is the worst Metal Gear. Sally is the easiest to destroy out of all of the Metal Gears. Huey wasn't able to source ceramics for its armor and so instead had to use uranium, a weaker alternative. Sally's weak points are numerous, including the head and the exhaust pipes. It can easily be beaten back by a helicopter's minigun. Sally's armor could be melted down to make a nuke, but then you lose your Metal Gear, so what's the point? Sally can't even be piloted as is. The AI pod is left unfinished / stolen by Venom, making it so your only option to pilot the Metal Gear is by having a child step up and take control. Which is really gross, since Sally existing means there needs to be child soldiers trained to pilot it. Fans are often impressed by Sally's height, and I can't blame them. Sally is the most intimidating Metal Gear to square off against. The human hands terrify me, but I can only imagine how useful they could be in a battle context. Sally could just pick up tanks that were attacking it, and could also use weapons and tools. Sally is also the most intelligent Metal Gear as it's controlled telekinetically by Baby Psycho Mantis. No Metal Gear is as mobile as Sally for that reason. Sally's also the most aggressive Metal Gear, chasing Venom down relentlessly and terrifyingly. Also, Sally can send out drones if it loses sight of its enemy, which is really cool and also super useful. Sally is a terrifying Metal Gear. It was designed to be Skullface's mascot, and image-wise, Sally is the most intimidating Metal Gear. I just can't get over how weak it is in practice, and that it has to be piloted by an AI or a child. Anything that keeps child soldiers needed on the battlefield is bottom in my book. Sally doesn't live up to its hype. As a Metal Gear that was supposed to be the next step in the evolution of weapons, it should have been a much tougher Metal Gear. I have a whole video on Sahelanthropus, the paper tiger, if you're interested, that I'll link in the description below. Number 11, Zeke. Metal Gear Zeke doesn't deserve to be as low on this list as it is. It's Big Boss's fault Zeke is so low on this list. Zeke is one of the most unique Metal Gears. It was originally designed to be controlled by an AI, but was modified to be piloted by a person. Because Zeke is one of the earliest Metal Gears though, its cockpit isn't totally safe for humans. In order to protect its human pilot, its cockpit floods with water to act as a shock absorber. I don't think that's feasible in reality as water is super heavy and the cockpit isn't small, so I feel like the weight from the water would weigh Zeke down and make it difficult to move / more expensive to move. It's still a really neat feature though. Zeke is also BB's first Metal Gear and is symbolic of his shift from good guy to villain. MGS3 was my intro to BB, and although by the time I played Peace Walker I knew he'd have to shift to being a villain at some point, I still wasn't ready for it. We've spent the whole series fighting Metal Gears and preventing nuclear strikes, so it shocked me when BB had his own Metal Gear designed and outfitted it with a nuke of his own. Number 10, Outer Haven. Outer Haven is so boring, which is wild because it's based off of Arsenal Gear, which is clearly higher on my list. Outer Haven is pretty much just a submarine that's outfitted with an arsenal of weapons, soldiers, and geckos to defend it. It's a set piece in Metal Gear Solid 4, and not a very interesting one. I'm curious to know what y'all think about Outer Haven. Is there anyone out there that loves Outer Haven as their favorite? I'd love to hear from you in the comments as to why. Number 9, Metal Gear D. Metal Gear D is one of the cutest Metal Gears. Almost all of its edges are rounded, making for a very friendly looking character. It's a redesign of the original TX-55 Metal Gear from Metal Gear 1, And if we look at the TX-55, we can definitely see where Metal Gear D's rounded edges come from. To me, Metal Gear D is the friendliest looking Metal Gear. Number 8. TX-55, Metal Gear 1. TX-55 was created under duress. Dr. Madnar, the robotics expert who created TX-55, was pressured to make the Metal Gear when his daughter was kidnapped. He had to create TX-55 or else see his daughter be hurt, or worse. TX-55 is one of the most interesting Metal Gears in my opinion. TX-55 never gets the chance to be deployed as Snehvit destroys it while it's pilotless. What kind of Metal Gear was TX-55 going to be? How strong would it have been in a fight? We'll never know TX-55's full potential as it was destroyed before it was activated. Number 7. Excelsis. Excelsis is a special case because it's considered to be a Metal Gear despite not being nuclear capable. Though Ray is also a Metal Gear that isn't nuclear capable, so if we consider Ray to be a Metal Gear, then Excelsis fits the bill as well. Excelsis has one of the most interesting and complicated designs and, to me, looks like an ant. Like an ant, it can tunnel under the ground, which is so destructive. It'd be terrifying to know a Metal Gear is tunneling towards you and there's nothing you can do until it pops its head above ground. Excelsis has made it as far up on this list as it has, purely because it's a ton of fun to fight. All the boss battles in Metal Gear Rising are so thrilling, and the Excelsis battle is no different. Though I will admit, Excelsis probably has the weakest presence out of any Metal Gear in the series. You fight it, and once it's destroyed, it's barely acknowledged. You just get swept along to the Senator Armstrong fight, which has a much greater impact. Still though, Excelsis is a ton of fun, so it's crawled its way up higher on my list. Number 6. Mark II and Mark III. The Metal Gear Mark II and Mark III give me such complicated feelings. On the one hand, they're super adorable, and I love that Otacon can talk to us directly through them and see what we're up to on the battlefield. Although the Mark II and III are both equipped with stealth camouflage that makes them invisible, and they can shock enemies and knock them out, which is super useful. On the other hand though, I worry that creating these two mini Metal Gears might be symbolic of Otacon's pull to get back into robotics. I don't want him making another full-size Metal Gear somewhere down the line. What did you think of the Mark II and Mark III when you first saw them? Number 5. Peace Walker. Peace Walker is such an interesting Metal Gear. It's autonomous, controlled by AI. It was developed as a way to ensure nuclear deterrence as it could launch a retaliatory nuclear strike independent of human command. Meaning, if a country wiped out another country with nukes, Peace Walker could still retaliate with a nuclear strike of its own. The Peace Walker fight itself isn't what puts Peace Walker so high up on my list because honestly, that fight sucks. It's super repetitive, and the biggest threat isn't Peace Walker, but the likely possibility of you running out of ammo and supply drops long before the fight is over. What puts Peace Walker high up on my list is the question of whether or not Peace Walker is possessed by the boss's spirit. Personally, I don't believe Peace Walker was possessed by the boss's spirit, and I really wish Metal Gear Solid would let the boss rest after everything she's done. But the fact that I can't definitively say whether or not Peace Walker was possessed is really interesting to me. Peace Walker really stretches fantasy versus reality in Metal Gear Solid, which I find interesting. Did you think Peace Walker was possessed by the boss's spirit? Number 4. Arsenal Gear. Arsenal Gear is one of the most interesting Metal Gears. Instead of being a walking bipedal tank, Arsenal Gear is a submersible warship. Instead of being piloted by a single human, Arsenal Gear was large enough to house a team of people that could work to keep it functioning. Arsenal Gear worked a lot like a living body. The different rooms of Arsenal Gear are even named after different body parts, such as the stomach and the ascending colon. People acted as the cells that kept Arsenal Gear running, and it even had 25 AI-controlled Metal Gear Rays defending it, like how white blood cells protect us from anything that would try to infect and harm us. There's an eerie kind of loneliness when walking around inside Arsenal Gear. It doesn't help that the place is kept at freezing temperatures to keep its AI, GW, functioning optimally. Arsenal Gear's main focus was information control instead of nuclear deterrence, which is unique from all Metal Gears, though Arsenal Gear was still nuclear capable. Arsenal Gear is super unique, which is why I love it so much. Number 3. Shagohod. I'm fully biased when it comes to the Shagohod. I played MGS3 hundreds of times growing up, so I love the Shagohod. The Shagohod fight is so intense, and it's such a long fight with so many evolving strategies that it makes the Shagohod a really intimidating enemy. I'm terrified of the Shagohod grinding me into dust. Every time we pull onto that straightaway runway where Eva's trying to gun it away from the Shagohod, my heart starts pounding. I also really love when Vulcan grabs the wires out of the Shagohod to make it move through his sheer will and electricity alone. That's such an intense thing to do, and I remember the first time I saw it, my jaw hit the floor. I thought for sure I was going to fight Vulcan hand to hand, but he wasn't done with the Shagohod just yet. Also, the Shagohod is the stage for one of the coolest deaths. Vulcan gets struck by lightning on top of it and then catches on fire, and his bullets shoot him a million times. The Shagohod is such an underrated, cool Metal Gear. Number 2. Rex. Metal Gear Rex is the only nuclear-capable Metal Gear that's designed by Otacon, which makes it really unique. During Rex's creation, Otacon learns its true purpose as a nuclear-capable weapon. He was lied to and told it was designed to shoot down nuclear missiles, not shoot nuclear missiles itself. This revelation prompted Otacon to change careers and fight against the designing and manufacturing of Metal Gears instead. How cool is that? Because of Rex, Otacon teams up with Snavit to fight Metal Gears. Without Rex, we wouldn't have seen their dynamic duo team up. Rex is indestructible, which is so intense. You have to try to destroy its radome to blind its pilot, since Rex's pilot uses its radome to see, and then once the pilot has to pop the top of Rex to be able to see their target, you have to attack the pilot itself. Looks-wise, I love Rex's triangle head. Rex is adorable. Number 1. Ray. Ray is the best Metal Gear, purely because it's the cutest Metal Gear. Ray drinks water like a snake, it has a tail that swishes back and forth like a testy cat, and it roars. Ray has the most personality out of all of the Metal Gears, and I feel like even the developers that work on Metal Gear games understand that, as Ray keeps popping up across the series. I screamed when Ray popped up in Metal Gear Rising. The Ray battle in MGR is so thrilling. Other than its looks, Ray has the coolest design too. It's the only amphibious Metal Gear, which is really unique. As mentioned before in our Arsenal Gear section, Ray was also mass-produced to protect Arsenal Gear. 25 pilotless Rays were manufactured to help protect Arsenal Gear, and if we stay in line with the body metaphor, that would make Ray like Arsenal Gear's white blood cells, which is so cool. Ray not only has the most unique design to me and is utilized in the most unique way out of all the Metal Gears, but it's also the cutest, which is why Ray is my favorite Metal Gear. Every Metal Gear is unique in its own way. You'd think in a series that ran as long as Metal Gear did, that the Metal Gears themselves would start to feel samey, but fortunately, that really isn't the case. I love how unique each Metal Gear is in every game, and when we get to see cameos from previous Metal Gears and other entries in the series, it's always a treat. Which Metal Gear do you love the most? Which do you hate? Your thoughts. We did a poll here on YouTube asking which was your favorite Metal Gear, though unfortunately YouTube limits the amount of options you can have for their polls. From the limited options we could put though, it looks like Rex won out, which isn't a huge surprise. For a lot of people, Rex was their first encounter with a Metal Gear. Plus, Rex is such a great Metal Gear for all of the reasons we've listed before. Chubbs4211 commented, "I'm not seeing enough love for Metal Gear 5's Walker Gears. Something about riding around on your own personal mini MG just never gets old. Yoinking people with that dumb little arm never failed to crack me up too." And I love carrying people around on the Walker Gears too. Unfortunately, I don't think Walker Gears are Metal Gears, so they didn't make it onto my list, but they definitely deserve a mention. Coriente Chaotica shared, "For me, it's the Halanthropus. It just does one particular thing very well. It scares you poopless easily. The screaming and his capabilities makes it seem like the most terrifying Metal Gear. Because let's be honest, that chase sequence in Mission 12 is panic-inducing, and the part where he jumps to reach the helicopter is even scarier." And I definitely agree. Sahelanthropus is terrifying. Mission 12, where you have to try and hop on a helicopter with Huey without Sahelanthropus catching you, always seems like a Herculean task. I hate the drones Sally throws out if it loses sight of you. That shouldn't be allowed at all. If we lose you, we lose you. Also, shout out to Cully Sloy 2705 who said the Shagohod was their favorite Metal Gear. I'd love to see the Shagohod get some love. Let me know in the comments which Metal Gear is your favorite. Thank you so much for making it to the end of today's video. If you liked it, share it with someone who wants to know more about Metal Gear Solid lore. If you need more MGS content, check out my Patreon. I upload articles I write on upcoming videos or just thought pieces on MGS in general. Or join us in Discord. We're always talking about MGS. More importantly than that though, please take care of yourself and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Thank you. Special thank you to our $10 Patreon, Nader Najat. Thank you so much for your support.